Guys, weird angle I know, but you're handheld right now because someone gave me a great idea for a vlog. It's going to be two vlogs actually, because I'm on two different platforms. But it was reading unread books from platforms like Netgalley. So I went and had a look, and on Netgalley alone, I have nearly 700 books that I have on there that I have not read. I don't have that many on Edelweiss, so that's going to be a smaller separate one. I think I've got 16 books on there because I haven't been on there that long, and it's way harder to get approved for books on there. So we're going to take a look at what I've got. So I went on to my Netgalley here, and as you can see, I have 35 pages of books, 684 books. So I went to the last page and I picked out this page. So the oldest book I have on there is Ecstasy Claimed by Seta J. I believe this is the third book in the Guardians of the Realm series, so I will be reading those three. The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown, which is a mystery thriller horror, something like that. Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell. Obviously I know it's the beginning of a series, so I will be trying that out. Textrovert by Lindsay Summers. Don't really know much about this. It seems like a mystery thriller contemporary. And then The Book of Whispers by Kimberly Starr, which is historical fiction. So we'll be reading these and seeing how it goes. For Edelweiss, I'll show you quickly. It will be in a different vlog, but I don't have many on here. I think I have 16 books, I think, if it ever wants to load. Here we are. Yes, 16. So that will be a shorter vlog. Slowly working my way through these. So I've just gone on to Goodreads to look at the Guardians of the Realm series, which is going to be the first book I'm going to be looking at. And Ecstasy Claimed, the one I have on NetGalley, is the second book. So before that is Ecstasy Unbound, and there is a novella before that, a prequel novella, Hidden Ecstasy. So I'm going to see if I can get Hidden Ecstasy and Ecstasy Unbound, and then we shall start reading. So before I go into any reading for the Netgalley vlog I'm doing, I wanted to see what order I was going to be reading these books in, because they are a mix of genres and lengths. So for the Guardians of the Realm series, I would have to read the first two books and the novella. Book 1, Ecstasy Unbound, is 302 pages long. Ecstasy Claimed is 313. And the novella Hidden Ecstasy, which is technically the prequel, but from what I've looked up, it says to read at least book 1 before you read it. And Goodreads doesn't say how long it is, but normally novellas are less than about 200-ish pages, which is fine. Then we have The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown. That's 320 pages. Spellslinger by Sebastian de Castell, which is 416 pages. Textrovert by Lindsay Summers is 235 pages. The book Whispers by Kimberly Starr, which is 386 pages. And then I added a couple more, which is Born by Jeff Vandermeer. I have read the Area X series, Acceptance Authority, that series. Reasonably enjoyed it, and Born is 323 pages long. And then Not Working by Lisa Owen. And that's 256. So I'm probably going to start out with either Not Working or Textrovert. Not Working is a comedy. Now this is a genre that I usually don't mesh well with, so I'm excited to see about that one. Mainly as well because it follows seems like an older protagonist, so being 25 myself might connect a little bit better there. And Textrovert, from what I can see, is high school setting, exchange of messages after a mix-up, possible romance. I don't know, I had it pegged initially, looked a bit like a mystery, but seems like it's a romance. Another genre I don't particularly mesh well with, but they are both reasonably short. So if I read before Blade itself, which is over 500 pages in one day. Both of these books together are a little under 500 pages, so I should be able to bang both of these out pretty quickly. So I think I'm going to start with Textrovert. So I'm going to DNF one of them. It's probably going to be that one, because I'm very picky with romance, especially if it's not smutty romance. If it's just, romantic comedy or just light-hearted contemporary romance, I don't particularly like them. So I'm going to start with that one. If I do end up enjoying it, that's great. But if I do end up DNFing it, I'll go into Not Working by Lisa Owen. Because at least with comedy, as long as it meshes with my particular brand of humour, which is typically dry and dark, if it meshes at all with my humour, then I'm going to enjoy it. But that's where we're going to start. Into Textrovert, and I'm already concerned. First thing that concerned me is it's a Wattpad book, and there are very few Wattpad books that are actually good. I might be a little bit biased because back on the day I used to read all the fan fiction on Wattpad, and now I can't go anywhere near the site. It's appalling. It's bad. But essentially we've got Keely and Talon, two people, and at a fun fair they accidentally pick up each other's phones. So Keely has Talon's and Talon has hers. She doesn't realise this initially until she gets a phone call about 1 a.m. From Talon saying that he's got her phone, she's got his, and she doesn't really know what to do about it. She's like, oh, I'll sort it out tomorrow, you know what I mean? The next morning there's an issue because her brother Zach, who was at a party, was drinking, and he tried to call Keely to come and get him, but obviously Talon had Keely's phone and it ignored the call, which led to Zach driving home drunk, which means he's now grounded for a month. He's upset with Keely, but he doesn't really give her a chance to explain. So Keely is trying to convince Talon that they should forward each other's messages. He should forward hers to his phone so she can still get her messages, and she'll do the same for him. But because of the attitude Keely was giving Talon, and initially rejected the offer without realising it, he ends up throwing down the gauntlet. She's like, I'm not that desperate. Nobody likes you that much. It's fine. And he's like, okay, bet, challenge accepted. Which I can only see causing problems. Yeah, neither of them are really endearing right now. Keely is really airheaded, doesn't really attempt to do anything. She procrastinates a lot, which I understand. I procrastinate a lot, but when I was in school and in college, I kept up on my schoolwork. Yes, sometimes I left certain assignments to the last minute before doing them, but I was never flippant about it. It was like I knew I should do it, but I put too much pressure on myself and procrastinate. Keely just doesn't care. She's like, oh, it'll be fine, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll copy it off my brother. I'll copy it off my best friend. And her twin brother Zach, and her best friend are both really high achieving students. Zach is captain of the football team. They try hard, they work hard. But Keely's just extremely flippant. Talon comes off as quite arrogant, quite obnoxious. So I don't see how this is going to work. I'm already cringing a lot at the banter between them. But yeah, I will check in again about the quarter mark. Tell you if I am actually going to finish it. Of the way through Textrovert now, and it's still insanely cringeworthy, but it is getting a tiny bit better. So Talon and Keely are exchanging texts back and forth and phoning each other trying to figure this out, and she eventually sort of blackmails him into forwarding her messages after she accidentally ends up speaking to his mother. And they just start talking. So like when Keely's twin Zach ends up phoning Talon to get Keely to pick him up from a party he snuck out to, even though he's grounded for driving drunk, he makes a comment that Zach kind of uses her, and we can see it. He gets her to give him the car, even though it's a junk car for him and her from their parents, because she doesn't use it that often, and she's constantly picking him up from parties, even though there are other people he could be getting lifts home with, and claiming he needs to use the car for practice, even though there are teammates and friends he could be driving with. And this also extends to her college choices. She wants to go to East Coast, he wants to go to West. But she's being pressured by her family and Zach to go to a West Coast college. And he even gets her tickets to a college to go around and to take her friend with her, but her friend's already made plans. So she ends up inviting Talon to go with her, because he seems to understand her point of view on the situation from college. And despite being cringeworthy and arrogant, Keely actually likes talking to Talon because she doesn't have to be the quiet twin, always in Zach's shadow kind of thing. She can be the outgoing person she wants to be. And he even helps her with some of her summer assignments without asking for anything in return. So, yeah, it's still really cringy, but probably going to read a bit more. And I'll check back in around the halfway mark. Halfway through text of it now, and it is typical YA, cheesy, cringy, cliched romance to the max. So, the entire week that Talon is away at a football camp, we get messages and phone calls between him and Keely, them building a bond and a relationship, and sort of developing feelings for each other. However, the day they meet up to exchange their phones back after he's back, she lets slip who her brother is, and Talon, his whole attitude immediately changes. He books it, and that's that. He ends up calling Keely when he's drunk, and they have more conversations, but it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And then on the train to go to Barnet College, the visit that Zach arranged for Keely, Talon ends up showing up, and they have a great day, and they even end up sharing a sneaky kiss down on the beach. And you're thinking, oh, this romance is finally going somewhere. But when they come back, Zach is picking her up from the train station, and before Talon can even say anything, Zach is there, and he calls Talon JT, who is the quarterback from his rival team. So JT, or Talon, and Zach play the same position for rival schools, and they're applying for the same college. And basically, the full scholarship that's on offer can only go to one of them. Obviously, with his name being abbreviated to JT, I'm almost sure the T does stand for Talon or something similar. And it explains why his attitude changed, because he knew who Keely was, knew who her brother was, and why she would be more loyal to her brother than to him. But it does bring in the obligatory miscommunication trope, which isn't something I like. He should have been, at least from when they met at the cafe, he should have been honest with her about who he was, and let her make that decision for herself. But now she's really torn up, she's really upset, because she's developed feelings for this guy, but she knows if she dates him, she'll kind of be betraying her brother, especially if Talon gets into Barnet, which is Zach's dream school. He's dreamed of going there since he was like 10 years old. So it's cliched, and it's corny, and it's cringeworthy, but it's entertaining, to say the least, and it's easy to read. But I'll check it back in about the 3/4 mark. Of the way through text of it, and it's interesting. So Talon doesn't give up after his identity is revealed. He keeps pursuing Keely and proves to her that the guy she was talking to is who he really is, and this JT persona is just one he puts on because it's expected of him. and they end up dating, and everything's going great. But the big test is kind of looming with the big game between their schools, the one that is going to decide both of these boys' futures. Before this, JT Talon does ask Keeley to wear his class ring for the match, which is kind of saying that even though she won't be sitting on his side of the field or cheering on his team, that she's kind of cheering for him as well as her brother. So she agrees. And she also learns beforehand that his ex-girlfriend Claire cheated on him, and she cheated on him with Zach. And the picture on his phone is Claire, Talon's ex, wearing Zach's class ring. And before the match kicks off, Zach finds out that she has Talon's class ring when it falls out of her shirt. She wears it on a chain. And he feels so betrayed by this. And he's so angry. But for most of the game, everything's going fine. Until the ball ends up going out of bounds, right where Talon is sitting. And as Zach goes over to get it, he just punches Talon in the face. Like, there's no instigation, there's no riling each other up, he just whacks him. Obviously, he gets sent off for disorderly conduct, and he can't play in the rest of the match, and Talon's team end up winning. This is a disaster for Zach, because it means that even like if his team had lost without the punch, he probably still would have been headhunted by a school. But now a lot of his prospects are probably going to go down the toilet because of the way he acted on the field, because he couldn't control himself. And I find that really hypocritical. Like, he's saying, oh, you don't know him, you don't know what he's like, and yet you didn't tell your sister you were dating, and you expect her to tell you if she's dating. You didn't tell her that you stole her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, that she cheated on him with you. It wasn't like he broke up with her or whatever, and you ended up with her. No, you were an accessory to cheating, which is something I can't really stand. The only time in romance that I've seen cheating, it's not acceptable, but I'll put up with it, is if the original partner is really abusive. But yeah, not acceptable. He's extremely hypocritical. And now his future's going to go down the pan, and I know for a fact he's going to blame Keeley dating Talon for it, when it's his own fault. If he had been a grown-up about it, and just walked off and ignored Talon, their team might have won, because they were up in the final minutes of the game. So, it's its own fault. But I'm going to see how it ends. Hopefully it'll be a happy ending or a reasonable ending, but I'll check back in with you at the end. Just finished text of it, and you know what, it wasn't bad. There's nothing great about it. It was cheesy, it was downright cringeworthy in places, but it wasn't bad. Not really much I can say on the subject. It reads like fan fiction, most definitely. Character development, non-existent. Plot, cliched. Cliched as hell. Was it entertaining? Most definitely. Would I read it again? Probably not. Would I read more from the author? Yeah, I'd give it a shot. See if her writing's developed. I know there are a lot more authors that started in fan fiction. Ali Hazelwood, The Love Hypothesis, fan fiction. The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare started off as fan fiction. 50 Shades of Grey, fan fiction. Some are better written than others. But typically authors get better the more work they write. So like Cassandra Clare didn't love The Mortal Instruments, wasn't very well written. The Infernal Device is her next trilogy, an all-time favourite of mine. I adored it. So yeah, I'd probably give Lindsay Summers another chance to see if she's developed. But would I recommend text of it? Not really. It would be like, it would be a recommendation if I knew someone was in a reading slump and they just wanted some cheesy, guilty pleasure kind of romance. I might recommend it, but not really outside of that. So now for part 1 of this reading vlog, we go on to book 2, which is Not Working by Lisa Owens. Into Not Working, and Jesus, that took a bit of brain power to wrap my brain around. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. You know, like when you read poetry, you have the name of the poem, and then you immediately jump to the next. There's no real consistency or flow. Yeah, there may be overlapping themes and stuff like that, but it's not continuous like in a novel. This book is laid out like that, like each chapter has a theme and it follows Claire in a specific situation, like on the bus or at the gym, and you're in her head. It takes a bit of brain work, but once you get a few chapters in, you realise it's sort of stream of consciousness. As she bounces around different topics and things going on in her life. So we learn that she's been out of work after quitting her job. And she is job hunting, but she's not enthusiastic about it. She's not really into it. She is applying for jobs here and there, but she's very flippant about it. She doesn't really care. She's been with her partner Luke for a long time. But their relationship isn't amazing. Like, you get vibes when she drops hints about having children that he's like, hell no, even though he doesn't say that. There's a chapter where she's at a party hosted by one of Luke's friends, and he calls her out for openly flirting with another guy, and she just brushes it off. Yeah, it just doesn't seem great. Her life is literally held together by the most minute threads. And she just doesn't seem to care. She's like, this is the way my life has been for years. It's worked, you know. What is there to do about it? So I have no idea kind of how this book is going to work and how it's going to be cohesive. So I will update you again about the quarter mark. I ended up DNFing, not working, by the Sorens at 25%, purely because I wasn't getting on with the writing style, didn't care about any of the characters, there wasn't really much happening in the way of plot, and I was just really bored. Even though it was only like 250 pages, I just couldn't push myself through it. I found myself zoning out every other page. So yeah, it just didn't happen. So, but the next book that'll be up from my Netgalley list is The Upstairs Room by Kate Murray Brown.